Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hello.
Good, good. Oh my God, Linda's got a pussy.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I do.
That's a good way to start the show off. Linda showing us our pussy. There you go. There goes the ratings. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Change the content rating, but that's all right.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be like. Sorry, Linda. I just lowered the tone and went down to that place I shouldn't have gone, I guess. Anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to I Want to Believe chat show. And we're very fortunate this week because we have the gang back. We have Chatty Cathy and the lovely Lynda. So how you been, Lynda? It's been a long time.
It has. I haven't seen you in a while. I saw Cathy, but I haven't seen you.
Oh,
it's been good.
Good. I was, I've been all over the map. Work's busy with, obviously we're now with the floods as well, going on in the interior and stuff like that. It's been pretty chaotic, and I'm in a different scenery instead of my dungeon today. I'm upstairs in the kitchen, in my in-laws' suite, because I stained the floor, and if I spent more than 10 minutes down there, I'd get high as a kite. Because of the fumes. And I went a bit too heavy with the brush, and I felt my eyebrows singeing when I was finishing the painting off. So I was like, "Oh, this feels good." And I don't even remember walking up the stairs. I think I just glided up the stairs, and here I am. But
I love it.
How you been, Cathy? How's life been?
I'm doing good. It's been kind of a quiet week here. We're just, I really don't have anything to add to that. But doing good. Yeah, doing good. Just getting some stuff ready for, I guess, Christmas next year, things with my show, things with my own business type of thing. So otherwise, doing good, doing really good. How about you guys? Lynda, how was your investigation? I know we talked about it last show, but your not investigations, they were more public events.
Yeah, you know what? Everything has been great. I mean, we were at the Briars Resort for weeks and weeks and weeks since September 17th every weekend, and that was intense, but we met a lot of people because it was a public event. So the Briars was having one of those ghost walkthrough type experiences. And we were there. We were set up with our displays. We met so many people, which was great, which of course means that now we're really busy. So going forward towards Christmas, it's like, oh man, everybody is coming out of the woodwork and they want us to come and visit. And so for the next few weeks, we have quite a few people to connect with, and it's good. It's great.
That's really good.
I have to ask, how many people wanted to show you a picture?
Oh my God.
Did they bring their phones or?
Yeah. Look at that. Is that a ghost?
I'm thinking about getting a t-shirt printed saying it's just dust, and whenever we go to like these public presentations, just go like that.
Yeah, but you got to have a picture of an orb, like
I know. Like an orb with a little smiley face in it and stuff like that.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good. That would be
just dust.
I was thinking about putting the F word in there as well, because it gets to the point where it gets a bit tiresome repeating yourself over and over again. But sometimes because not all dust is orbs, and not all orbs are dust, but people don't understand. But that's okay, that's what we're here for. That's right, and I mean that in a kind of a joking way as well. But it seems to be the norm with that, when people show you pictures and stuff like that. It's like, I've got this fantastic picture, and you're like, you're really building yourself up. You're like, this one's gonna be the one, this one's gonna be the one, and then it's just like, no, it's there's no way of proving it either way, ununfortunately. It is.
I like the ones that set up the cameras to record the fly that's around their house, that's buzzing around,
Yeah.
And you're like
that's
3
good
hours
as well.
of watching a fly around their living room.
Yeah, no,
You're like,
totally.
Yeah. No,
That's funny.
it's
Actually,
not Aunt Kathy, it's a fly.
something happened because we had someone contact us who was convinced that something going around her house was paranormal. It had to be paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent us a lot of video. And it was one of those where you're watching it and you have your phone and you're going, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't really see anything. But I mean, that happens. And then we had everything set up to go and visit. And at the very last minute, she said, "Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to come."
She
That
found the
happens a
fly.
lot.
She found the fly on the wall and
That
realized.
happens.
I got as you say that, I've got a crazy story to share, and this happened about 10 years ago with when I was president of Vancouver Paranormal Society. We got called to a residential case in the Lower Mainland, and this woman was saying that there was something was ripping her clothes up, and she sent me pictures of all these clothes being torn, and like even a belt had been like it looked like something's been cut through it.
Right.
And I'm like, that's just crazy. And I was thinking, the first thing you think that there could be some medical issue with her, like, naturally just thinking that as a kind of a normal response that there's something wrong there. But anyway, we gave her the benefit of doubt, and we did I think we did like 4 investigations there, because this started going off like big time. And she had her friend come in as well, which added some validity to it as well. And she was saying, yeah, we went out for lunch and came back, and the same thing happened again. And we was absolutely flabbergasted. And we was like, okay, so what we'd do is we set up some cameras. So we put the hunters cameras, like they use like trap cams,
Right.
they call them the paranormal field. So at that time I was using a lot of them on a lot of because we were doing a lot of cases outside on farms and stuff like that. So I set one up on top of a wardrobe, and we left it for a couple of weeks, and it was in one of the spare bedrooms. And I said to her, "Don't go in there," And I said, "Take all your clothes out." I said, "Put all your clothes into another wardrobe, and just leave that place. Do not go in there or anything like that." So we went back the following week, and I took the card. We did another investigation. Went home. Anyway, I got home, put it into the computer, and then I went through the pictures, and lo and behold, she comes in, she comes out, she comes in, she comes out. There's a picture of her looking at the camera like that, seeing whether it's working, and she's like, and it's like anyway. But then there was a guy. I caught a guy walking into the bedroom, and you could see him going into the wardrobe, and you can see him cutting all the stuff up, and so we. Yeah, no, straight up. So I phoned her up and I said that this is not paranormal, but I've got pictures of, and I described the guy, and she was like, she goes, "That's my ex-boyfriend," and it was an older woman as well, and that's what he was doing. He had spare key for the house.
Oh my God!
And he would let himself in, and he would just go in there, didn't steal anything or anything like that. He just randomly go into a closet and cut all her clothes up. So I gave her the footage, and I said, "You need to get the police involved," and just left it at that.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was a really messed up, but she was happy in the end that it wasn't paranormal, because she thought she was going like absolute nuts. But anyway,
we had this is a funny story. So one time we did a case, and we had brought a spirit box with us. It was one of our first or second times using it. Never really used it before. And it was funny because it was a couple. The guy, they were both quite young, mid-20s or whatever. But anyway, it was funny because we got there and the guy started acting kind of weird around me, kind of flirty and shit. And I was kind of like, okay, whatever, just let's, just brush it off type of whatever. And it was funny because the spirit box started talking, and it would say things like flirting.
Wow.
Yeah. And, just affair, stuff like that. And we thought, okay, this is weird. Like, does this, this was only like maybe our second time. So we really didn't know, what's going on with all of this. And it was the most bizarre thing. And then this guy started calling, and doing some sort of, weird, trying to hit on you. And we just brushed it off. And I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a camera, so that we can record, kind of like what you were saying, Peter, just record. We're going to let it go for the night. If anything happens, we'll come back the next day, pick up the stuff. Of course, I didn't go alone. I brought a couple of our male investigators with us. Anyway, so we picked up the evidence. We went to go watch it. Well, there's this guy getting up in the fucking middle of the night, stark naked, doing some sort of weird dance in front of the camera. We just shut it down. As soon as we start, what the hell is he like? Oh my God. we had to phone the wife and say, look, we're stopping this investigation. We're not doing this. Sorry, but we can't take any of this seriously because so
crazy. Okay. We went slightly off track there, but this week we are going to go over again what Cathy and I spoke about a few weeks ago. We went through a series of questions in relation to the field, and we also kind of brushed upon our own experiences in relation to the different types of hauntings. So I'm going to start the questions off with a series of questions to both Cathy and Lynda, and I'm going to add my opinion to that as well. Ladies, starting with Cathy, what, as a summary, would be the signs of a good paranormal team?
Signs of a good paranormal team would, first of all, actually listening to what the clients have to say without really throwing in their own hypothesis ahead of time, is what I feel. Also, too, are they conducting interviews? Are they making assumptions without the client's, input? If you were to say, well, a glass moved, are they just going, oh, it's got to be a demon? It's got to be this. Oh, yep. Yeah, that's 100% paranormal, without asking about the circumstances surrounding, without asking of the interaction of the family, maybe perhaps asking, series of different questions without having any pre-interview, I suppose, would be one of the signs for me that would say, okay, maybe there's something going on here. I would also interject about or ask about, if a team is coming in right away with psychics, Ouija boards, troll dolls that they shake around, rain dance. I don't know what the hell they're going to bring in, but, I would be very skeptical about that being an actual investigation. Do they have a conclusion at the end of any sort? Do they have a follow-up or, a preemptive interview in any way in regards to anything that they did catch, or any sort of help for the family perhaps afterwards? So those would be the things that I would definitely, if they didn't have those, I would be very skeptical about the team itself.
Good answers.
Yeah.
Lynda.
Boy, those are really good answers. Yeah. It's like, how do you follow that?
Yeah, well, I know, right? We just make sure that they're fully clothed. And, they're shaved as well. How's that sound?
That's good. I like that. That they don't smell when they walk into a client's house.
That's a good start, yeah.
Well, I think what makes a really good team is a cohesive team. So people that are pretty much on the same page. I mean, but with different areas of expertise. So I think that's really important. So I think you've all got to be working together. You can't have one that's sort of, aggrandizing, sort of like wanting to be the top and then, yelling and barking orders at other team members. I think you want the cohesiveness. I mean, you certainly want someone who's going to take charge. Yes. But I really think that, you need people that work well together. And I totally agree. I think if you go in anywhere. I think a good team is a team that's very respectful of their environment. So they need to understand the client. They need to ask very specific questions. They need to work with the client, and they need to work with the client's, let's say, religious persuasion. You know, they have to understand.
I like that. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, they have to understand what that is.
Yeah.
But they also have to ask the client what they want in terms of an investigation, because some teams will go in and they assume that the client wants, you know, every piece of equipment. They want cameras in every room. They want all of that stuff. Sometimes the client just wants validation. Yes.
Right.
That's an important piece, like finding out exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Because you could just overwhelm them with just an assumption that they want, you know, they want the house exercise and stuff like that. But ultimately, 99% of the people that I've ever dealt with just want that piece of evidence to know that they're not going mad, and that they will go on their own merry way, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And also, I think we have to first and foremost find out, yes, what they want, but ultimately what they want done. Because you can go in and you can say to them, yeah, we're going to come in and we're going to, you know, exercise whatever's going on. We're going to smudge. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Yeah. They might not want that. They just might, you know, they just might want to know that whatever's there is not harmful. Because how many people have you dealt with that say to you, well, I don't really want it gone. I just want to know that it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah, no, pretty much. That's the thing as well.
A lot of people are kind of used to the activity too, right? Yeah. And honestly, if we have somebody that does a bad smudging, we can make it worse.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, cohesiveness, understanding what the client wants, being really respectful of not only the client, but the environment that you're going into. I mean, you know, it's that whole thing. You don't walk in and go, okay, so scratch me. Tell me you're going to scratch me. Please stop.
Yeah. No, totally. Stop. That's good. Like they're both like basically really good. And I guess mine, if the ones that I'm going to fire off at the top of my head probably are in line with yours as well. One thing I don't think you guys brushed upon is knowledge of additional resources in respect of not like exorcists or anything like that, but in relation to historical research or, you know, knowing where to find particular information in regard to the research as well, that kind of thing as well. And that seems to have been a missing piece before in the past when I've done previous investigations. Obviously, investigations are always free, and you know it's a norm, and you know, effectively what we do is a free service, and we shouldn't be charging. But because we've had this conversation before, we don't. I'm not a plumber working in your house for $200 an hour. There isn't. I'm not certified in what I'm doing. We're a theory-based field, and we shouldn't be charging for our service in that respect.
Right.
Attentive and show respect and compassion. We don't judge. You know, you walk into any given situation. You know, there's me rattling on about orbs and dust t-shirts and stuff like that. But ultimately, when we go into any situation where that client is willing to open up to us, it's, you know, it's paramount that we walk in there with a neutral mindset in relation to what could be going on. We don't tell them that the house is haunted either. No. That's the thing. We don't say, oh my God, get an exorcism there or anything like that. We're not qualified to do so. We don't promise spiritual removal either. One of the other things is excellent communication. Yeah. And key is follow up with clients as well. Yes. A lot of the cases as well with public buildings, we've got to have a clean record because we've done a lot of work in government buildings and stuff like that. And we can supply references if need be as well to certain locations as well, which we've been asked to do before as well. And respect for their space and time and well-being as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that's basically it, really. I mean, just again, it's just been brushing what Lynda said as well. Just getting an understanding of exactly what they want, and just having that all the way through the whole process as well, rather than them, swarming up your house with 50,000 cameras and an exorcist, driving up the road 10 minutes behind, kind of thing. Warrens or something like that. But anyway,
True.
Yeah,
it's good.
I think the cost thing is really I think that's something that people really need to know about as well. Like, there should be no cost for this. There's, I mean, unless it's like a matter of, transportation and possibly hotel if they were in a completely different city or something, but even then it's only equal to the actual cost, not, we
don't profit out of it.
an extra 20% on top of the price of the hotel or something.
Yeah, I mean, we've accepted money before where we've investigated over the other side of the island, because they've asked specifically for us to go over, and it was just like, you just lay it down and say, well, can't really afford to go over there. And they're like, well, we'll pay for your fare and we'll give you accommodation, things like that. And that goes a long way. And it's not, I guess you nailed it across the head. It's not effectively us seeking profit in what we do. It's just being compensated sometimes for what we have to pay out to get from A to B, kind of thing.
That's exactly it.
That's true.
Exactly it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, well, I guess question number 2, and this one goes to Lynda first. What are the signs of a good, full-rounded investigator?
Wow. Gosh, that's a loaded question.
I know it is. Just keep it brief.
I'll keep it brief. Well, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, when you're talking about a team and cohesiveness and respect and all of that, I think the signs of a good all-around investigator is someone who listens to the client, who takes the time to ask the client questions and work with them respectfully. And I also think someone who listens. I mean, I think being a good listener is number one, because you have to sometimes understand the subtleties of what people are saying when you are interviewing them. You have to pick up on those subtleties and write down everything. Tell the client to write down everything. I mean, be transparent. Transparent, but you have to be transparent. You have to really understand them. And you also have to put together a really good team to go in and follow up. So you have to understand the value of, doing your research. You have to also don't assume anything when you're speaking with them. Don't assume anything, and find out as much information as you possibly can, but also tell the client to find out what they can as well. Write down, when things happen, what time they happen, what time of the year, what's going through your mind, et cetera, et cetera. Have a host of questions to ask. And a good investigator listens and sort of plans out an investigation before they go in. And knows how to work effectively with a team. Really somebody who just is very respectful and gets to the heart of the situation through research and understanding and paying attention to the subtleties. I think that's important.
Yeah.
What about you, Cathy?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was a team player, for sure. Yeah. Depending on, what kind of team, I guess, that you work with, or what kind of investigations that you do. For the most part, most investigators don't work on their own, but you have to be a team player. Like, you have to be. There's too many egos that that start interacting. And I think that that's the main thing. If you're going to participate on a paranormal team, you have to remove your ego. It's not the Cathy show, the Peter show, the Lynda show. This is not for yourself as an individual. This is about helping the client or helping the individual who's coming to you with an issue. And, this is a serious issue for them. Otherwise they wouldn't be contacting you. You definitely have to have the compassion, the empathy in order to, but I do think at the same time, you have to have the diplomacy to be able to say, maybe we're not for you.
Yeah.
or maybe, this is something that is of a non-paranormal nature, and remove yourself from the situation, and I think that a lot of, what we saw from, some teams that were here is they would just go in and do it anyway, when, you're trying to make something out of nothing, and pursuing that line of thinking when it wasn't necessary to do so.
True.
So that's where I kind of think
It's the awareness of safety, I guess, that ultimately what it falls down to. And it's not, I guess it's not just so much in case anything goes sideways spiritually on an investigation. It's having being aware of anything that, if there's anything that can go wrong in the place you're in, or with the client as well. And again, yeah, you're right, Cathy. There isn't a lot of teams around that have that lens, that knowing where their boundaries are.
Yeah.
And they do, some of them do fall on their backside, and they fall on their backside pretty hard in relation to that. I guess with me, like the main focal point with me is 101 trust. Like it's paramount. Like if I don't have, and this has been a problem up until just before I left Vancouver Paranormal Society, over the 10, 11 years where I was running that team. The issues trust I had was it was incredible, the amount of people that I went through over the course of that decade, where it was just a trust. It was just, it wasn't the fact that they were, it wasn't really right for them or anything like that. It was just that I was questioning pretty much everyone that come along. And unfortunately, towards the end, the team that I had was a collective, trustworthy people. But if you don't have that as a foundation within your team, there's no point even discussing those other parameters, because it's neither here or there kind of thing. With a lot of our locations here in the interior as well, we have to have transport as well. And I know it's not as important as trust, but we like to have investigators that are reliant on their own transport rather than, carpool. We can carpool and stuff like that, but bearing in mind some people people come from different directions of town, and when we finish at night, it's important for me to know that everyone got home safely. And if there's Margaret that has to go and get a bus on the way home, that causes a bit of a problem, because I've got that in the back of my mind. Did she get home safely? That kind of thing. I guess the keen eye for detail, and with a kind of a skeptical nature as well. That's kind of 101 what we do. And when I use the term skeptical, I use it as to what is defined in the dictionary. It's that person that has that ability to look at things and see through them as something logical. But if it is, if they are, the evidence, or the evidence is overwhelming in relation to it possibly being paranormal, they would accept that as well, rather than being totally dismissive, where the correct definition is for people like that are non-believers. They're not skeptical.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people trip up on. And obviously passion and respect for the paranormal, and a sense of humor as well.
I think one thing too is checking, is having a keen sense of a safety of a location as well. I know that there was a few locations, back in the day that we turned down because, as much as there might be a ton of activity, there's also nails or, open, holes in the middle of some sort of environment. Or I remember one guy's basement, I can't remember exactly what he did, but he literally had nails that were poking out of boards. I can't remember exactly what it was that he was, like some sort of craft or whatever that he was doing. But if you're stumbling around there in the dark, and the thing is that a lot of investigators will just overlook that. and just go, oh, we're just gonna, we're setting up for this investigation, whereas not taking into account that you're also walking around in the dark and with a flashlight, and you you trip and fall, you're definitely having some sort of paranormal experience. So
yeah, we've been very fortunate because the people that I've had on my team have always been conscious about the places we go, and
right.
without disclosing too much about some of the people's backgrounds or anything like that, but we've always had an idea of places that we've gone to prior to us even stepping foot through the door in relation to our own safety. Things like we get calls from places in Vancouver, and I can run it by a particular member, and they can tell me straight away whether this location's actually kosher for people's safety.
Right.
And that being said, and with me, or the lead investigator, whoever's running that particular investigation, they normally walk around there first and just to ascertain to see whether the site's actually safe as well, which is important as well.
That's
very
good.
important. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. Oh, well, open-mindedness too. I wanted to say that as well.
Yeah.
Because, you have to have an open mind, and you have to be able to go with the flow. You also have to, be very adaptable. So whatever you're going into, you have to have adaptability. You can't sort of say, this is what I'm going to do. But if something deviates you from that, you can't say, oh, no. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I'm staying with this strategy, whether you like it or not.
It's funny that there was we did an investigation at the Cohen Theatre in Burnaby, and we invited a team from the interior. Well, actually, the guy actually lives just near me now. When I was living down in the Lower Mainland, and we invited him down, and this guy was he was a self-proclaimed skeptic. And we did an investigation that night. We teamed up with their team, and everyone was holding hands in unison, singing "Kumbaya" and stuff like that. But anyway, we got an EVP when there were three of my team members on the stage area, and then we got this EVP, and everyone actually heard it with their own ears as well, of this groaning voice, and it's always "Get out." And that's what we got. It was like, get out, like that. And it was loud, and like they heard it with their own ears. It was like they thought there was someone in the theater. So anyway, we scoured the theater up and down. We were the only ones in there, and basically called security. Security said there was no one in there and stuff like that. So we validated 100% that there was no one in that building that actually made that noise that we knew of or anything like that. So I gave it to this one particular individual when I did a playback, and everyone was so excited about it and stuff like that. And he just looked at it and he went, huh? He went, yeah, like that. And I'm like, well, what are you saying about that? And he said, well, I don't know what to say about it. And I'm like, well, what do you think it is? He goes, well, it sounds like someone saying get out. And I'm like, well, do you not think that is credible? And he said, well, I don't know. He said that he goes, because I wasn't there. And I went, you was there. You actually heard the voice as well. So I guess in hindsight, what I'm trying to say is that there's people out there that, and I'm probably taking this conversation in a completely wrong direction, but there's people out there that shouldn't really be in this field, that are not skeptical by nature. They're non-believers. And that is, that's paramount in what we do.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
So next question for young Cathy. What is the misconceptions of being a paranormal investigator?
Oh, okay. So I guess the first one would be that, how do I say this? That you're basically a full believer in absolutely everything. That, like it's kind of like saying you might be spiritual. So obviously, all you do is sit and meditate and do yoga and eat vegan. It's sort of that.
That is completely random. Jesus, Cathy, where did that come from? I'm
it's sort of that misconception, right?
I was actually shocked by seeing Linda's pussy. Now you're saying this? Jesus.
What did I say? I said eat vegan. Oh God.
No, but it was just like so random. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, anyway.
What's funny is because I'm actually vegan, so there you go.
I'm going to let Peter take that one. Funny. Too funny. No, I think that there's a lot of misconception in the fact that people have this idea in their head that, again, if you're a paranormal investigator, that you're into everything else that could be possibly supernatural. Like we might as well just take the TV show Supernatural and that's what you are, or it's a very strong misconception of that you have, for a lot of people, that you have no logic, or that basically all you do is just concentrate on the paranormal. Like that's it. That's your whole life. So every conversation that you have has got to be just about the paranormal. I think that kind of is the one that wears on me the most, because hey, I can talk politics, I can talk shopping, I can talk shoes. Like I don't give I don't need to talk ghosts, and I don't want to talk ghosts all the time. That's not my thing. So I think that that's a huge misconception from a lot of people. I think for me, that was one of the biggest ones.
Interesting. That's true. Actually, that is really true. I was going to say one of the biggest misconceptions, and I mean, I get this all the time. So are you psychic? So do you feel stuff? So like, are you psychic?
Right. Yeah.
Right. They always think that because you're a paranormal investigator, immediately you're a psychic and you can go in and go, oh my God, I see a ghost in the corner. But no. They also think that you know everything about it. And that's not entirely true. And I tell people, we're constantly learning. So we're not experts, right? We can go in, some of us might be a little more experienced, but it doesn't mean that we're experts. It means that we're still really learning, because really the field is just, it's blowing up. So there's so much out there to learn. We don't know everything.
Yeah.
We try and piece together information, but we don't know everything. But I think that's a big misconception. And also the misconception is, that we do this full time, that we eat, we breathe, we poop, we sleep, paranormal investigating. But they don't realize that most of us actually have part-time or full-time jobs. We have families, we have kids, we have the normal things in life that we have to deal with. We don't eat, breathe, and poop paranormal investigating.
Right.
Really, I mean, I think that's the biggest misconception. And the fact that because you are a paranormal investigator, apparently you can fix anything. And I think that's one thing they want us to do, is to come in and fix all of their issues. Well, that's a misconception too. We don't fix anything. And that's something that, will help them. We'll help them try and get through it. Sometimes we can actually, make the problem less in some way. But I mean, we don't go in with a wrench and, fix all their paranormal problems. And that's something I think, they think we know everything, and that we can go in and do everything. And that's a problem.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They also think that we're available like 24/7.
Oh,
back in the early days when I used to give my telephone number out to people, I'd be getting like cranky phone calls at like 2:00 in the morning from someone going, "It's here!"
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because you're so right. I mean, my phone, if I didn't turn off my ringer, it would ping 24 hours a day, because they really think that we're, paranormal 911, that we're going to be there instantaneously, and that we're available 24/7. And when we say to people, let's ask some questions and ascertain what's going on. We want you here now. It's scaring me. You need to come now. Well, I'm sorry, but I have dinner to make and laundry to do and a million other things. I can't do that.
Yeah. That was one of the most fatal things I ever did, was back in the early days of VPS. I think I was probably trying to accommodate people too much. It was the fact that I was giving out my phone number to people, and it was just to the point where, you know, I'd be, you know, it'd be like 2:00 in the morning. I'll be fast asleep, sleeping to get up for work the next day, and the phone starts bleeping. It's like, who the devil's that? And I'll be thinking it's someone in the UK. Something's happened, and it's like, help! And you know, and it was, you know, you're trying to be sympathetic at the same time, and then by the time you get over to, you know, you wake up and you look at what they think is paranormal. It's not actually paranormal at all. It's just them being irrational at that time in the morning because they're shit scared.
Yeah.
And you know, and it is funny to a degree, but then also at the same time is, you got to have that kind of line in the sand where we don't get paid to do this. I don't, you know, I have to work, you know, 50 plus hours a week. I'm doing my daytime job, and I'm not going to, you know, be on call 24 hours kind of thing. And I think that was one of the things that I was like, I've shifted over the years a lot away from residential cases because of that. And Cathy has as well. And you can kind of sympathize in that relation as well. And it's just, I guess in hindsight, what we do is probably the most thankless thing that, you know, you could ever do for anyone, because you would bend over backwards for a client, and 90% of the times I never even got a thank you. And you give them that piece of evidence, and you know, they've had their validation, and that's it. Not even a response back or thank you or anything like that. And they're just off in the sunset, and then they're telling their buddies on Facebook that their house is haunted. Yeah. That was primarily me with VPS, and it was just like, why am I doing this? Because it's not making me happy; it's making everyone else happy. And you got to, unfortunately, the selfish side of me says, right, you got to make, you know, I'm the only one that's going to control my own destiny about making myself happy in this field, and just that's why I do what I want to do now. And I kind of drifted away from it. I still do it, but I do it for people that I know that would appreciate my time. Right. And would be, you know, conscious about my time as well. It's just, you know, I'm busy, but I do think, you know, it's recommendations and stuff like that. I wouldn't go advertising my services anymore on like a Facebook or anything like that. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't have a website constructed about myself with a big mean face. Yeah, Peter the paranormal investigator, you know, flexing those pipes, that kind of thing, as they do. I guess the like the misconceptions being is that I get back to the TV thing. It's poorly representative on TV that people think that that's what we do on as to what they do on like the shows and stuff like that. The time that we commit is probably drifting over to what we were just talking about. It's not just when you attend investigations, there's a whole lot of hours that go into it afterwards when you're doing residential cases and stuff like that. Not every place we go to, we meet Casper, the friendly ghost. There's a little bit more to it than that. And one of the ones that sparked up recently is the fact that, and this is basic 101, but ghosts do not just appear at night. They're actually more visible during the daytime as well. Yeah. And I guess with equipment, again, the 99.9% of the equipment that people use from ghost stores and stuff like that are a pile of shit. They don't work, and they have no value in the field and what we do. And I guess my other misconception would be is that a lot of the times we don't do research in relation to asking the questions why or how. Right. We just keep that continual burning of, let's go to a place, let's do the EVPs, let's see if we can get an EVP, but then we don't get the opportunity a lot of times to go back and to do proper testing and stuff like that, because no sooner as we've given that client or that public, you know, that public place that evidence, the door's shut. So you don't get that opportunity to go back again. So that's I guess in hindsight, that's a misconception. We don't actually do research a lot of the time, and it's not our own fault. It's to do with the places we go. Yeah. Unless you're fortunate enough to live in a haunted house, and then you can just do it in your own, or not haunted house.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
So
true.
And most clients want to hear what it is that they want to hear. So, I mean, one of the other, misconceptions is like, we've said this before. It's easier to tell somebody that their house is haunted than actually to tell them that it's not haunted. And, a lot of people don't want to hear that. And when they hear that, they just go find somebody else that will, just validate that information for them. That's all they wouldn't care, if you were like I said, a 2-year-old with a troll doll. Yeah, it's haunted. That person said so. So we're going with that. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
I guess another thing that I could add to that as well, you just brought it up as well, is the stigma about haunted objects as well.
Yeah.
I believe in the theory of energy and energy being transferred and stuff like that, but I put it into perspective, and both you ladies know this. Haunted objects have only been popular over the last 10 to 15 years. When I first started, you'd very rarely even hear you'd never even hear of things like Annabelle or any haunted dolls or anything like that. So that itself has changed. And I think, we've done episodes of the show where we've got haunted objects into my house, and we've done a series of investigations on it. Nothing happened. And then we got ashes as well of a murder as well, because of that theory as well, haunted objects as well. Nothing happened. And I'm not saying that, it doesn't happen, but the misconception is not everything that looks raggedy and old is haunted.
True.
I'm not haunted, and I'm raggedy and old as well. So.
Oh my, there's that sense of humor, right?
There you go,
Steve. Sense of humor.
If you haven't got the looks, you've got to have a sense of humor. It's one of the two, right? It just makes up for everything in life. As long as you make people laugh, or you try to anyway, that's the way to win people over, apparently. Okay, so we have 10 minutes, but what we can quickly do is we can quickly spin through the types of hauntings, and guys, give us examples of these type of hauntings that you deem as being that type, like the investigations you've done over the years and stuff like that. I won't go dig too much into my side, but Lynda, residual hauntings as such. So residual haunting is much like an old movie scene that has been played over and over again, kind of like the stone tape theory. Residual hauntings can come from visuals or noises. Residual ghosts have no notice of the living. They can't see us or anything like that. And you can't, in theory, there's no way of us interacting with them either. It's that continual play of tape recorder that's playing over and over again. Have you ever been in an investigation where you you thought at that time it was a residual haunt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it was one of the first cases that I had when I was very young. And this lady had told me that in her apartment in Montreal, in the McGill ghetto, I love that area, McGill ghetto. It was a really old building. So it was a Victorian house that had been sort of split up into all these different apartments, and she would see this woman walking through one of her walls. And it was very interesting because when I went, I didn't actually see anything, but I experienced what I believed was the residual haunting, because it sort of looked like, and I always tell people when I see things, it's always like Predator, when the creature goes into stealth mode. It's kind of funny. Anyway,
into the wall.
Yeah, and it was weird. It was like I could see what looked like water, and it was interesting. So it kind of went through the wall, just as she described. And what she was telling me was that it didn't feel as if it was talking to her, or she didn't see that it was paying attention to her. And but that wall hadn't been there all the time. So when the landlord split up that apartment, he actually put that wall there. So that wall wasn't always there. And I tried to explain to her that, well, likely, yes, that it was a residual haunting. So something had happened in that particular apartment, and it was kind of, that energy had imbued itself there like a tape recorder, and that she was just seeing this person walking through that wall. And that wall, because it wasn't there, obviously, it was on their route through the apartment. But what was interesting was that she was very much at that time, so we know it now as feng shui. I don't think she called it that back then, but she invited a person over who was very much into feng shui. And that person explained to her about energies. And believe it or not, it lessened her energies in that apartment by moving things in specific directions and by placing things where they were placed. And she invited me to go over when this was all happening. And it seemed to slow down that energy. It seemed to almost eradicate it. So, but it was definitely a residual haunting. Obviously, this little boy or this man or whatever the hell it was, because it kept changing from little boy to man, took that route all the time. So, yeah, so by changing the energy in that environment, she didn't experience it as frequently or, as strongly. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I put that in the back of my mind, and it was quite fascinating, actually.
So what do you think changed in that environment to make that stop, like for it to slow down?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you asked that question, because at the time, the way that it was explained to me was that there are certain cures in this environment that you can use in feng shui that will either change the energy, the flow of the energy. And she did put, a plant in a certain area, and it felt different. And she would put different things in the apartment in a specific area that would match I think she called it a bagua. I think that's what she called it.
Okay.
So certain areas of the apartment were specific to, let's say, friends and family, or helpful people, or fame and fortune and stuff like that. And it was really a fascinating experience. And she said that it would slow down and sometimes stop energy that was either negative or positive. But you know what, Pete, it seemed to work. It seemed to deflect the energies, or perhaps, and this is what I thought, perhaps because things were moved in different areas, she didn't notice the energies as much. And I think that's part of it. I think that's really
like she was focused in on something else. So she
Exactly. It's not so much that the energy was changed, but I think the focus wasn't there.
Right.
So I think, she didn't experience it after that, though. So I thought that was a fascinating thing. I know, right? It's like
definitely interesting. Definitely interesting.
Actually spikes a story that I have, but I'm going to jump in after Cathy. I actually have got one that's quite interesting.
I don't, you know what? I don't know if I've really had too many residual. Like I'm not thinking of one, popping into my head at this moment. So most of them have been, I would have to say, either poltergeistic, I guess is the best way to, or intelligent for the most part. I haven't really had too many experiences with residual energy. So you go ahead, Pete.
So there was actually two that's come to mind. I'll quickly fire through them. There's an old pub in Surrey, in a place in a small village called Oxted, and it's called the Bell, and I think it dates back to like the 17th century. But that actual land itself was a part of there was a Roman. There was something about the area that had Roman presence during it predated. I think it was like BC or something like that. So that it goes back that far back. But this pub, every year, I think it was in September, they would have they would have at a certain time, and bearing in mind with the time change and stuff like that, they kind of bared it in that there would be what was visualized by local psychics. Yeah, we didn't put a lot of value in that or anything like that, but there would be a visualization of Roman soldiers walking through the bar, and they were waist height, and that was what described to me. And I was actually there twice during this whole when it actually happened. I didn't have I had like a disposable camera and stuff like that. When it was back in the day where I had like about £5 per investigation or something like that. But the actual personal experience would be you could it would start about 2 o'clock in the morning, and you could actually feel the bar going like vibrating.
Oh,
And it gets louder and louder and louder. It almost sounded like it was mechanical, and I'm like, well, it must be a fridge or something like that. And they're like, no, and there was, a friend of mine who was alleged psychic as well. She's like, there's people walking through the bar. You can see them walking through the bar. And then what we did, we laid pint glasses across the bar, and they were rattling, they were shaking, and they were moving around the bar as well. And it just disappeared. And it was it was every September of every year that this would happen, around that proximity time, around about 2 o'clock in the morning, give or take the hour, whether the time change and stuff like that. And it wasn't the witching hour before anyone pipes in or anything like that. It wasn't it wasn't the work of a demon, but there was that. But then there was Steveston Harbour as well in BC. There was it basically predates to the early part of BC, when BC first became a port through from Asia, and it was the first port. And there was one particular, it was actually a net factory now, but it was based in the harbour. They would only have activity going on when there was a certain temperature drop. And it was to the point where we get to the end of the summer, and like in BC in the lower mainland, it kind of, you get that nice, you get the nice summer, and all of a sudden you get that dip point where the next day you wake up with that holy shit factor. It's like, holy fuck, it's freezing, that kind of thing, that kind of shell shock. And we investigated that place for about five years, and it would be at that point where you get to the end of the summer, and you'd get those few days of that holy crap weather, and then it would stop after that. And it was that point. It was just so weird. It was that, again, going back to what you're saying, Lynda, it was that energy change in the environment. Like there was a sudden drop in temperature that caused that to happen. And it was, we would interview staff there that worked in the place for like 20 something years, and they said the same thing as well, that things started happening in that place at the end of summer, when the first couple of days when the temperature dropped, things will start happening, and then the rest of the year, nothing else.
Wow.
Weird. And again, we don't, we're a theory-based field, and we don't know what caused that. It's obviously an energy change. Again, yes. Going back to the original theory about, it's all energy-based as well, but what caused it and what, the temperature. Yeah, we know it's temperature change, but what triggered it, we don't know. We never will know. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, intelligent hauntings.
Intelligent hauntings.
Yes, yeah. Cathy. There you go.
Okay, so honestly, I mean, we've had several, right? Like we've always, but I have to say probably one of the ones that still sticks in my mind is my own house, originally. And this would have been because, so originally what happened is my daughters, we kind of had thought that maybe something was going on when I was still married. I thought something was maybe going on, in the house. Right. And, cause there was weird, just weird shit, but you just brush it off. I still don't know if it was poltergeist or if it was intelligent, but I have to say that at the beginning, at the very, at some point, it might have even intermixed a bit. And, my daughters were playing with Barbies, and my oldest one and her friend, and they weren't really playing with Barbies because they were kind of past that age to play with Barbies, but they, you know, but they were placing them, you know, they would place them at the end of the hall. And then I could hear them because, you know, I'm watching TV with my little one, my youngest one at the time. And she was probably about 4 or 5, you know, and then I could hear my daughter and her friend running down the hall, and they'd be like, ah, you know. I was like, okay, what are you guys doing? Like, you're interrupting my show, was kind of my thought, you know, with how you're. And they said, well, this is the coolest thing. If we put a Barbie here and then we don't look at it, and then we go back a few minutes later, it's moved. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Sure. And so, you know, I said, okay, well, show me. So they put it at the end of the hall, and all 4 of us sat in the living room, and that's me, you know, my daughter, her friend, and my little one. And then they said, it only takes a few minutes, Mom. If we'd walk in and, you know, he'd go and look down the hallway, sure as shit, that Barbie's like a foot away from where you had put it. Like, you know, they might have leaned it against the wall, but now it's over here. So I'm like, okay, there's something wrong. Maybe the floor is tilted, you know, like in Poltergeist, where they think the chair's sliding, you know? And I remember we went to the washroom. I went to the washroom, and they had put the Barbie. So let's say the door's here and the hallway, you know, is right there on the other side of the door. And they had put a Barbie on this side of the door against the wall. And the house was so old that you couldn't, it's not one of those houses where you could tiptoe down the hallway to move anything. You know, you're hearing every creak and squeak and nail, whatever, like you're hearing everything. Plus I had the door open probably about that much. So if they had moved it, I would have heard and seen them. Like, and I went and opened the door, and the damn Barbie was sitting right in front of my door, right in front of the bathroom door. And I was like, okay, this isn't normal. Something is seriously wrong here. And then we went to the next day. So, you know, actually my daughter freaked out, and my oldest one freaked out. And she was like, okay, we're going to grandma's, because my mom lived next door at the time. And they said, we're just going to go to grandma's, because I actually don't feel really good staying here right now. Like, we kind of got freaked out. So they ran over to my mom's house and stayed there. And my youngest one and I, you know, spent the night, and got up the next morning, went to work. I got home the next day, opened the door. There was fucking Barbies, I'm telling you, from one end of the place to the next. I'm talking in between the taps, on top of the ceiling fan, on top of the refrigerator, like everywhere, like in the corners of the house. Like, because they had a big bin of Barbies. It wasn't like they only had 2. They had they got big bin, you know, my old Barbies, their Barbies, the whole bit, right? And you're probably talking about 20, 30 Barbies that we had easily. And so I phoned my mom and I said, send the girls home now, because they've got a effing mess to clean up. I'm pissed at this point, you know, because I'm not cleaning up this mess. And she's like, Cathy, they haven't left my side the entire day. She goes, I don't know what happened last night, but they made me sleep in the living room with them. And she goes, I don't know what teenage kids want their grandma to sleep in the same room, but they would. So they came over, they came back to the house. My daughter walked in, started bawling. And she's just looking around, and she's just like, oh my God. And that was, so that's when we, you know, there was a few other incidents and stuff like that. But after that, I tell you, I sold that house. Yeah.
No doubt.
And yeah, it was like that. I mean, there was, like I said, there was enough incidents in there that you kind of tend to wonder, was it a poltergeist? Was it intelligent? You know, but yeah, and you know, we talk about it actually in Peter's book. And you know, all of the incidents, if anyone's interested, they can read the book. They can read about all of the incidents. But that, I would have to say, it's still probably the most prevalent in my mind. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, and there was a lot. There was enough that made me at the end there, just up and go, yeah, we're moving tomorrow. Like, we're done. I'm selling this house. We're moving.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It was terrifying. Yeah, it was terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a weird intelligent haunting experience because this one happened so quickly during a preliminary interview with the client. So myself and a couple of my team members went to this wonderful lady's house, and she had been having some incidents in the house, and she was a little afraid. And I just decided, for some reason, something told me, okay, just take out your EMF detector. Not that it makes a difference, but just put it on the dining room table as you're talking to this lady and see what happens. What the heck? So I took it out and I just put it down, and we started talking, and she was telling us about her experiences. And it was her and her daughter and her dog that lived in this house. She came from a really abusive, relationship, and it was a horrible thing. Her husband had gone, thankfully, but I mean, she was afraid in her house, and she was pushed in her kitchen. Her daughter was pushed in the hallway, practically pushed down the stairs, and I just asked one little simple question because she had gotten an EVP all by herself in a quiet time. She was sitting in her living room, and she heard, she was just, I can't even remember. She was taking, I think, a video on her phone.
Yeah.
About, moving her furniture around, and you could hear in the background, and she claims, there was nobody home, and there is no man that lives there, but you could hear a man singing. It was just unbelievable. Kind of like a man in the shower. And it was so clear and so, vivid. It was just unbelievable. And our mouths were open. And I said to her, I said, wow. I said, it sounds to me like, there's something in this house that doesn't like women. And this EMF detector shot right up into the red. And we all kind of looked at it. And I said, sounds to me like you got a bully living here. This thing shot up again. It was right there. Unbelievable.
That's the red in your hair, wasn't it? Stirring that fire.
That's why. Turn my hair red. But no, and every single time that I would say something about this spirit that was in the home that was derogatory in any way, sounds like he, really needs to get his act together, this thing would just go off the charts. And
unreal.
It was unreal. And I knew then, because you talk about the atmosphere changing in that house. Yeah. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. So that
it did not like to be dissed.
No, it did not. And it was it was hearing us. It was responding to us, and that was quite a case.
Wow,
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I will share my one. Obviously, there's been a few over the years, but there was we got called to a residential case in another one in Surrey, BC. It was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And we pulled up outside, and these are like townhouses. And we pulled up outside the house, and the boyfriend's at the front, and he's out the front with his guy friends, and they're all sitting on the wall drinking beer and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, here we go, this kind of investigation. So we went in there, and I thought, okay, we just see how it goes. And I just warned the team. I said, just be prepared that we're going to be pulling our stuff out to go out anytime now. So we've gone in there, and the guy's sitting at the front, and we've knocked on the door, and he's suddenly seen that we're there. So he's put his beard down. He's come to the door, and he goes, no, he goes, oh, I'm glad you're here. And it was kind of over dramatic. And I was just like, it was kind of, I thought that time we were just going to be a showpiece for his friends and stuff like that. So anyway, he opened the door, let us into the house, and his girlfriend was in the living room, and she was like absolutely petrified. She was just sitting in there. So we sat down, and she said that there's problems with the TV. The TV goes on and off all the time, and I'm like, okay, there could be, in the back of my head saying that it could be electrical problems, stuff like that. Right. She said that there's all of the kids' toys keep going missing. Keep getting thrown around all around the house. And she goes, I can hear my name being called, and my son and my daughter's name being called. And the guy's like, yeah, we can hear my name as well being called when we're upstairs in the mornings from downstairs. And I was like, okay. So anyway, you kind of at that time you kind of put a lot of two and two together, where this guy's drinking and stuff like that, and you're like kind of a little bit standoffish about, is this really going to happen or not? Because sometimes things are too good to be true. So we set up, and they said that it was in the nursery room downstairs where she used to keep her babies before they all moved upstairs. So we went into this room, and there was just an old crib in there and stuff like that. And she said, well, I'm gonna leave the house, and I'm gonna get all of my friends to vacate as well, while you guys can do your readings and stuff like that. So we're in this nursery for probably about 15 to 20 minutes, and then nothing, do an EVP session, nothing, and just thought, okay, let's try somewhere else in the house. So we opened the door, came out, and we walked out there, and there was these little dolls by the door, and they were sitting upright right in front of us. There was 3 little dolls, and they were kind of like it was like the early version of the Trolls when they got re-released, but there were these like little miniature trolls sitting in line with each other. And I'm like, they're winding us up. Like this, they've come in there and they've done it. And that's the first thing I thought, because they're, there's a camera somewhere and stuff like that. They're just theaterizing it and stuff like that. And the guy I was with got freaked out big time. Like, it really threw him back. And I'm like, dude, I said, look, someone's playing a trick of us. And I said, just ground yourself and stuff like that. And he was like, okay. So he calmed down, and he's like, okay, let's do another EVP session in the hallway. Nothing. Like, the EVP session was nothing. So we went back into the nursery room, and we shut the doors and we locked them. Went back in there again, shut the doors, and I shouted down the hallway. I said, right, we're going to lock ourselves back in the room again. When I come out, I want those trolls to be taken upstairs and put on top of the bed. So we went in the room, and for some strange reason, and I wasn't a big fan at that time, but the guy I was with cracked open the spirit box, and we're scanning through, and it was going as it does, and I'm like, that noise, and so I turned around and said that I introduced myself. I said, I'm with, my name's Peter, and this is so and so, and can you tell us who you're closer to? And then it just went. It stopped scanning, and it said Peter, and it was like, we kind of throw back, and it was just, whatever, it's just a coincidence or anything like that. And it was like, okay, my name is, and I said my full name. I said, my name's Peter Wren, and this is so and so, so and so. And I said, can you tell me now who you're standing closer to? And it was going, and we waited about 2 minutes. Then it paused in the skip, and it said Peter Wren.
Oh my God!
I was like, so we were like, okay. And I said, okay, who is the guy that I'm standing right by the side of? And this voice said his name.
Wow!
And then we were just like totally blown away. And then we went out. We were like totally blown away. We stopped the spirit box session and stuff like that. And we was like, okay, let's go and try another area, and perhaps we can get more activity upstairs. So we opened the doors up. The trolls are gone. Trolls are missing from in front of us. So we were like, okay, let's take a backtrack here and stuff like that. And the doors were locked because I put my cases right up against the door.
Right.
In case that they start. I didn't have cameras or anything like that, but I put my cases right up against both the doors. No one come in and out. I was like, okay, they got a cat. So it could be the cat. So I'm
all the trolls.
Yeah, you're trying to keep logical things going around your head. So we've walked around the house, gone upstairs, and we went into the eldest daughter's bedroom, and the trolls were on top of the bed.
Oh
my God!
And then after that, that house really, really opened up. like in relation to the information we got. We got the client's name numerous times. We got a woman's name that was alleged. You know, you put two and two together because you've got just the first name.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of familiarities with her name because her name was very unique to an incident that happened a few doors away in another house. So there was a lot of parallels to that. But yeah, that was one of the most compelling intelligent cases that we had.
Jeez,
And there could be an overlap there with poltergeist and stuff like that because things were being moved and stuff like that. But ultimately, it was an intelligent being that was actually driving it more than anything else.
Wow.
Unbelievable, huh?
Crazy.
It's just wild when stuff, and then you kind of tend to wonder, you know, how are they moving this without us seeing? Is that portal activity or what? Like what how did that happen? You know,
it's like we don't know, and like we go on about finding the truth and stuff like that. Realistically, the only time we will know is when we're on that other side and when we're looking in. Right. I think if we spend too long trying to look through that window, we're going to, you know, you need to concentrate on this side of the window half the time as well. But it's interesting, and you know, you go like months and you go years without that anything physically being moved, and then when it does, it just blows you away. Just having that. You know, EVPs and stuff like that. Like you can go out and you can walk the streets and get an EVP because of because of energy or whatever theory you have behind what an EVP is. You can get an EVP from almost anywhere. But when you actually have that physical movement of an object and you move from one place to another, I've seen things physically move themselves. But when and no one got into the house or anything like that, it just blows your mind. It's like how much energy went behind picking it up, carrying it upstairs, and putting it on the bed, like three of them. It just, and it's my word against everyone else's because, you know, you wasn't there, Cathy, or Lynda wasn't there or anything like that. But that's, that just blows my mind that things like that can happen.
Yeah.
But that's where the trust of the paranormal investigator really comes in too, or the integrity and the honesty of the investigator. Right?
It is. And what kind of put the icing on the cake, the second time we went back, it was actually quite funny because the second time we went back, we didn't deliberately do a debrief when we went in there. We went straight back into that old nursery. And we actually got the spirit box out again because we were really excited because it was like it was kicking up a shitstorm the time that we were there before. And it was like we turned around and said that we were looking at each other like two little kids because we almost knew that something was going to happen. And it was like, can you give us a name of the woman that lives here? And it broke, and it said Megan. And with that, the client, that was her name, she come bursting through the door. She went, I fucking heard that. Well, there you go.
That's awesome.
It's the way she come bursting through the door. It was like, it was like an armed robbery or something like that. I fucking heard that.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Oh man. Well, do you know what? I wanted to say one thing before we end everything, because when we were talking about paranormal investigators and what makes a good one and all of that stuff, I think you'll both agree that when you're looking for a paranormal investigator, and because, this isn't our full-time job, I think when I said being transparent, I think it also means that when people, look us up, not only as paranormal investigators, but as people, if they're going to go through our social media, they're going to stalk us on social media, they're going to ghost us, they're going to do whatever. I think, how we are as people makes a huge difference because we have other lives And people will pay attention to that. You know, if you
They do.
have,
Yeah.
you know, if you have integrity as a person out there, if people, you know, love you for what you do with other people, if people like you, if people get along with you, if you know, you have that integrity as a person, then I think they're going to be more inclined to trust you as their paranormal investigator. I think you have to monitor what, you know, you might post on social media. Not that you can't have opinions, or not that you can't have a sense of humor. That's a little off. But, you know, honestly, I think if they're going to watch you on social media, they have to know that you are a person that
You're
lives
human
your
first,
life
yeah.
with integrity.
It's funny that over the last 3 years, quite obviously, I dropped being a part of TAPS. I was a director of TAPS, and I stopped being associated with a lot of big corporations. I guess they're corporations in the sense of networks and stuff like that. And I don't, you know, I don't want to be that person that's exposed to everyone. That everyone, oh, have you heard of Peter Wren and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because I've been in that situation before where you get that kind of, and I'm probably using this in the wrong term, and I might be blowing my own trumpet on this, but you get that kind of fan base where people follow you around, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when it was to the point where when I left TAPS, I lost contact with a lot of people, and they diminished, and I purposely lost the contact with a lot of people as well because of that. You know, the only time they wanted to talk to me was about, this and that about TAPS and that, and what about events and that kind of thing. You know, just trying to shine me up, that kind of thing. And I don't want to be that person. I just want to be me and what I do.
Yeah.
And there was a certain element of censorship that I had to perceive as well when I was at that level with TAPS as well, where I couldn't be myself.
Yeah.
And and I couldn't call bullshit. And then towards the end, it got too much for me. That's why, I fizzled away from it all. But I think you're right in essence of what you're saying, that if you're going to be doing anything, regardless of whether it's in this field or anything like that, you have to be transparent and you have to be yourself as well.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really, the bottom line, it really comes down to the integrity too. It really does.
It does.
That integrity makes such a huge difference when not only people are looking for an investigator, but also too, if people are thinking about starting a team, they get so excited about the idea of, I want to start this team, but they're not actually looking at who they're starting that team with. They're just looking for that common interest.
Yeah.
But everybody's especially when it comes to the paranormal, you can have a common interest, but some people's viewpoints are like right way beyond maybe perhaps where you are on that spectrum. And that's something that you got to be aware of too.
Yeah, right? It is. But everyone's entitled to their own opinions about the field. And with people that are out of my realm in relation to what I believe and they believe, I kind of keep at a distance, because not because I don't want to be associated with them. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's the beautiful thing about this field. But also at the same time, it's kind of it's kind of that cross personalities that I don't really want to deal with, because there's that element that of it could be the sense of talking about religion, I guess, about their beliefs and my beliefs, and I haven't got the time for it, and I really haven't got the energy for it anymore. I just want to do what I want to do, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Or if you're looking to work with another team too, you got to pay attention to what they're looking at. I mean, it's all about perception too, but still, you've got to pay attention. If they're dissing other teams and they're being real a-holes, I mean, do you really want to go on an investigation with that team? Not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets to the point with, and I've seen this with some of the friends that I have in the field where it gets to the point where you're pissed off of being a Mr. Nice Guy, where other teams continually shit on you, and you have that sense of being you act professional in the respect of brushing things off, but I think it gets to the point where sometimes you have to fight back about things and the risk of damaging your own reputation, because people are out there, and everyone says karma and stuff like that, but at the same time, if someone's out there talking shit about you, you have the right to voice your own opinion as well, because you know what, it's a playing field in what we do, and there's a safety net in a lot of things that we do as well, and we have that right, and that's it. And a lot of people hide behind keyboards and computers and stuff like that, which is good for them. But I think you should have a personality in this field. You've got to have a strong-willed personality to carry through what you've started in relation to your vision. Don't drop off at any given avenue saying, if you don't want to be the guy on TV or anything like that, don't say, you know what, I might be interested in it and stuff like that. Just stay the path kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Nancy. And I hope you're well. And thank you guys for tuning in. I'm absolutely shattered now. I'm going to go to bed at 7:30. But anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. And we will be back next week with another guest. And stay tuned. We'll be back next Friday at 6 p.m.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.